In the depths of space, where stars twinkled like diamonds in the vast black canvas, an ancient species, known only as the elder species, traveled silently. These beings were as old as time itself, their civilization thriving for millions of years. Their ships weren't built from metal or engines. Instead, they were crafted from living materials, grown to be as graceful as the natural world they came from. They had explored countless galaxies, but Earth was different. This small blue planet had caught their attention. The elder species scouts, always cautious and observant, had detected strange signals coming from Earth. Signals that hinted at something new, something growing. They didn't understand the full meaning of the signals, but they felt a strange pull to investigate. Something about the humans, with their short history and ambitious nature, intrigued them. The scout ship approached Earth slowly, its surface shimmering with organic patterns. As it neared the planet, the elder species sensors were flooded with data about the humans. What they saw both surprised and puzzled them. They observed cities and forests, oceans and deserts. But what caught their attention the most were the massive ships built by the humans. These were nothing like the graceful, organic ships of the elder species. The humans had created large, heavy structures made of metal, ships of war. From their advanced vantage point, the elder species could see Earth's battleships moving through space, their engines humming with a mechanical rhythm that was so different from their own. These ships were powerful in their own right, designed for combat and defense, but they seemed primitive compared to the elders' smooth, living technology. Yet there was something about them that fascinated the elder species. These humans had built something new, something born from their need to survive. The leader of the elder species, an ancient being with eyes that had seen countless worlds rise and fall, stood silently as their ship hovered in the coldness of space. They had expected to find a primitive species, perhaps one that had just begun to understand the stars. Instead, they saw humanity's creations and felt something unexpected, a surge of respect for these creatures who had dared to dream so boldly. "Are they ready for us?" the leader asked softly, their voice like the hum of distant stars. The scout ship's captain, a younger member of the elder species, hesitated. "They are different. Their ships are crude, yet they show an intelligence that we have not seen in other species." The leader's gaze turned back to Earth. They had come to observe, to understand, but now they felt a strange connection to this world. Something about the humans, their ability to adapt and create from nothing, made the elder species wonder, could this species be worthy of something more than just observation? The decision was made. The elder species would make contact, but the first meeting would not be simple. The humans, in their ever-growing hunger for knowledge and power, would not simply welcome their new visitors. The battle between the unknown and the known had just begun. And the elder species would soon learn that humanity's greatest strength was its unyielding will to survive. The elder species had made the decision to approach Earth, but the humans had no idea that they were being watched. From their perspective, the sky above was filled with stars, not knowing that those stars were about to reveal something far beyond their understanding. On the surface of Earth, life continued as usual. Humans went about their daily routines, working, studying, and living. But in the world of space exploration, things were rapidly changing. Earth had begun to send ships into the cosmos, and though their technology was new and unrefined, it was growing fast. Among the most impressive of these creations were the massive battleships. These ships were the pride of human ingenuity, designed for one purpose: protection. Each battleship was a marvel of human engineering. Made of metal, they were designed for war, defense, and exploration. The humans had learned to harness the power of engines, weapons, and shields. Unlike the graceful, organic ships of the elder species, these vessels were bulky and heavy, their engines powered by fuel and technology rather than the living materials the elder species used. Yet, in the cold expanse of space, they were capable of great things. Captain James, the commander of one such battleship, stood at the bridge, looking out at the stars. His ship, the Horizon, had just completed a routine patrol of Earth's outer orbit. The crew of the Horizon was a mix of skilled soldiers, scientists, and engineers, humanity's finest, each with a common goal: to defend Earth from anything that might threaten it. All systems are functioning at optimal levels, Captain, reported his first officer, Lieutenant Carla. The sensors are clear, but we've noticed strange anomalies in the data. Unidentified signals. We don't know what they mean yet, but we should be prepared. James nodded. He had heard about the odd signals. At first, they had thought it was just space interference, but now it seemed like something more. He wasn't sure what it was, but the hairs on the back of his neck stood up as he thought about the possibilities. Earth had made its mark in space, but there were still so many unknowns out there. Suddenly, the ship's radar beeped loudly. A large object was detected, far beyond the Horizon's range. It was moving toward Earth, slowly but surely. "Get ready for anything," Captain James ordered, his voice steady but filled with urgency. This could be a threat. Prepare the crew for a potential contact. The crew sprang into action, their training kicking in. They didn't know who or what was approaching, but humanity had faced many challenges before, and they weren't about to back down now. Far away, the elder species watched with great interest as the human battleships readied themselves. The humans had detected their presence, but instead of retreating in fear, they prepared to defend themselves. It was a natural instinct, one that the elder species had seen countless times before. But there was something different about these humans. They were not afraid. Instead, they were curious, determined, and ready to face the unknown. For the first time in millennia, the elder species were faced with a species that might not be easily intimidated. This wasn't a race to be destroyed. It was a species that could fight back, one that could stand its ground in the vastness of space. The elder species had not expected this. They had expected fear, submission, or a quick surrender. But the humans, with their crude, metal ships, were about to show the elder species just how far they were willing to go to protect their world. The encounter between these two races would change everything. One side was ancient, the other young, but both would learn from the other. It was the beginning of something far bigger than either of them could have imagined. The quiet of space was shattered by the hum of Earth's battleship engines as Captain James and his crew prepared for the unknown. The radar still showed the large object approaching, now within range. The Horizon was ready, and the crew, though nervous, stood firm. This could be a first contact with an alien race, or it could be a deadly attack. Either way, the humans were determined to protect their planet. "Captain, the object is on a direct course towards us," Lieutenant Carla reported, her voice steady, though the tension in her eyes was clear. "It's not responding to our hails. What should we do?" James stood by the window, looking out at the dark vastness of space. His thoughts raced. The signals they had been receiving from the object were strange, unlike anything Earth had ever encountered. It was clear that whatever was out there was not like anything they had ever seen before. "Prepare the ship's weapons," James said firmly, his voice filled with determination. "If it's hostile, we'll be ready. I don't know what they want, but we're not going to let them harm Earth." The crew went to work, silently but efficiently. The Horizon was one of Earth's most advanced battleships, armed with the latest weaponry and defensive systems. The crew trusted in their technology, but they also trusted in their humanity. Quick thinkers, resourceful, and unafraid to face the unknown. Meanwhile, on the alien ship, the elder species watched with a sense of awe and curiosity. Their first impression of humanity had been a strange mix of confusion and admiration. These creatures, with their metal ships and apparent lack of advanced natural technology, were showing something unexpected: resolve. "We should consider a peaceful approach," the elder species scout captain suggested, his voice calm. "But what if they attack first? They appear to be preparing for war." The leader of the elder species hesitated. There was something about humanity that was hard to read. In all their encounters with younger civilizations, the pattern was always the same: fear, followed by submission or destruction. But these humans, despite their lack of understanding, were different. They didn't cower or flee. They made a choice to stand and fight. "Let us test their strength," the leader said. "Send a message. Let them know we come in peace, but if they challenge us, we will respond." The elder species ship sent a signal toward the horizon. The message was simple: "We come in peace, but we will defend ourselves if attacked." Back on the horizon, the crew received the alien transmission, but the message was unclear. It was not in any language they recognized, but the tone was undeniably serious. James furrowed his brow. A feeling of unease settled over him. Were they being warned, or was this some kind of trick? "Get me a translator, now," Captain James barked. "We need to understand this message before we make a move." Time seemed to slow as the crew scrambled. Their fate was hanging in the balance. The message was decoded, but it was cryptic. "We come in peace." The humans could only assume that the aliens had similar intentions as they did. But with the strange nature of their ship and their mysterious message, it felt more like a challenge than an invitation. "We must respond," James said finally, his face set in determination. "Open a channel. We're not backing down." Humanity had always faced challenges head-on. Now, they were about to face one unlike anything they had ever seen before. The Horizon's weapons remained aimed at the alien ship, ready for whatever came next. The time for hesitation was over. It was time for humanity to show the elder species what they were truly made of. The silence of space was suddenly broken by the roar of Earth's weapons charging. Captain James felt the weight of responsibility press on him as his fingers hovered over the command console. The elder species ship had not backed down, and the Horizon was now locked in a standoff with the unknown. There was no way back. The only choice now was to fight. "Captain, the alien ship has powered up its shields," Lieutenant Carla reported from her station, her voice steady but filled with tension. "They seem ready for combat." James glanced at the display in front of him. The alien ship had an almost organic look to it, smooth, shifting surfaces that glimmered like living tissue. It was beautiful, but also unnerving. They were facing something unlike anything humanity had ever seen. The Horizon, in comparison, looked like a giant piece of metal and machinery. It was designed for defense, but it was also built for combat, and that was exactly what James was preparing for. "We can't afford to hesitate," James said, his voice calm, but with a hint of urgency. "Weapons ready." The crew watched as the enemy ship loomed larger on the view screen, its surface glowing in the darkness of space. The tension was unbearable. Would this be the first battle humanity faced against a more advanced species, or would they survive this strange encounter with nothing more than a warning? Without warning, the elder species ship fired. The blast came in the form of a pulsating beam of light, beautiful, almost hypnotic. It struck the Horizon's shields, sending a ripple of energy across the battleship's surface. The impact was enough to rattle the crew, but the shields held strong. James's grip tightened on the console. "Return fire," he commanded. The Horizon's weapons unleashed a volley of laser fire, a series of brilliant blue beams that shot through the void toward the alien vessel. The lasers struck the alien ship's shields, but the energy barely seemed to register. The Horizon's crew was good, but they were up against a race that had mastered technologies far beyond their own. "Shields holding, Captain," Carla reported. "But their ship is incredible. It's absorbing our attacks like they're nothing." James's mind raced. He knew the battle wasn't going in their favor, but there was something about the elder species ship that suggested it wasn't trying to destroy them. It was testing them. This wasn't a fight for survival. It was a challenge. "Try a different angle," James ordered. "We can't beat them with sheer firepower. Let's see if we can outmaneuver them." With the speed of well-trained soldiers, the crew executed the command, shifting the Horizon into a tight turn. The ship's engines roared as it veered to the side, making a sudden move toward the alien vessel. The move took the elder species ship by surprise, and for a brief moment, the humans had the upper hand. The Horizon launched a series of missiles, targeting the alien ship's engines. This time, the missiles found their mark, but the damage was minimal. The alien ship's technology was resilient. It didn't seem to be harmed at all. The elder species vessel retaliated with a quick, graceful shift, firing another energy blast, this one aimed directly at the Horizon. James braced for impact. But just as the beam closed in, the ship's shields flared, absorbing the hit just in time. The Horizon rocked from the force of the attack, but the shields held, and the ship stayed intact. "Captain, it seems like they're toying with us," Lieutenant Carla said, her voice filled with disbelief. "Their power is overwhelming. They could destroy us in an instant, but they're holding back." James nodded, a realization settling in. This wasn't just a battle. The elder species were testing humanity. They weren't trying to crush them. They wanted to see what Earth could do. The humans had shown courage, creativity, and strength. The elder species were learning. And in that moment, James understood the stakes of this battle. The battle in space had reached a turning point. Captain James and his crew aboard the Horizon had given their all, launching missiles, firing lasers, and using every tactic they knew. But the alien ship, a vessel of organic, shifting energy, had barely been scratched. Its defenses were far beyond anything humanity had ever imagined. Yet, despite the overwhelming power of the elder species, they didn't destroy the Horizon. Instead, they seemed to be testing the humans, pushing them to see what they were capable of. James stood at the command console, his mind racing. The Horizon was built for defense, not for facing a technologically superior enemy. He had no idea how much longer the ship could last against the alien force. Yet, in the midst of the chaos, there was something strange happening, something he couldn't quite explain. The elder species ship wasn't firing with the full force of their capabilities. It was almost as if they were waiting for something. "Captain, they're slowing down," Lieutenant Carla reported, her voice filled with surprise. "Their fire rate has decreased. It's almost like they're watching us." James frowned. Could it be? Were the aliens seeing something in humanity? A certain resilience that intrigued them. The thought didn't make sense. The humans were outmatched, outgunned, and yet they kept pushing forward. What could the elder species want from them? Before he could ponder it any further, a new message flashed across the command console. The text was alien, strange symbols dancing across the screen, but one thing was clear: we seek peace. The message was not a warning, nor was it a threat. The aliens were calling for peace in the midst of a battle they could have easily won. James stood still for a moment, his thoughts racing. If the aliens wanted peace, why had they attacked in the first place? Had this whole battle been nothing more than a test? "Open a channel," James said, his voice steady, but filled with curiosity. "Let's find out what they want." A calm, soothing voice echoed through the bridge, translating the message. "Human vessel, we have observed your species and your strength. We have seen your will to survive. You have earned our respect. We offer peace, but we seek understanding. Do you accept?" The words hung in the air like a challenge, but not an aggressive one. The elder species didn't want to destroy humanity. They wanted to know them, to learn about their strength, their resolve, their creativity. The humans had passed the test, but the real question now was whether they could meet the next challenge: coexistence. James took a deep breath. His instincts told him to be cautious. This could be a trap, a way to lower their guard before striking the final blow. But there was something in the aliens' words, in the way they spoke, that made him hesitate. The battle had not been a fight for survival. It had been a way for the elder species to see what humanity was capable of, to test their character. "Lieutenant Carla," James said, turning to his first officer, "what do you think?" Carla looked at the screen, her face thoughtful. "Captain, They could have destroyed us by now. They haven't. This might be our chance to learn something new, to make a real connection. We can't afford to let fear decide for us." James nodded. "Agreed. Prepare to respond. We'll offer peace, but we'll stay on guard. Humanity has fought too hard to let our guard down." With that decision made, James activated the communication system, preparing to speak directly with the elder species. The Horizon was still in orbit, its weapons ready but silent. The battle had stopped, but the war, if it could even be called that, was far from over. The human race had just earned a chance at something far greater than survival. It was the beginning of a new chapter, one that could lead to an alliance or a disaster. Whatever came next, humanity was ready. They had passed the test. Now, they would see if the elder species would honor the peace they had offered. The transmission from the elder species was calm, yet filled with the weight of centuries of experience. As Captain James listened to the voice echo through the Horizon's command deck, he realized this was a moment unlike any other in human history. The ship's crew stood still, waiting for James to decide how to respond. The fear from moments ago had melted into uncertainty. Could they really trust these ancient beings? Or was this just another trick, one that would lead to their destruction? "We offer peace, but we seek understanding." The voice continued, its tone steady. "Your species shows strength, not just in combat, but in your ability to adapt, to overcome. We have watched you, and now we wish to share our knowledge with you." James felt a wave of disbelief. These beings, who had lived for millennia, were offering something unimaginable to humankind: wisdom, technology, a partnership. But in his heart, he knew this was no ordinary encounter. The elder species were not only testing humanity's resolve, they were offering something far more precious: the chance to grow. The transmission ended, leaving a stillness in the air. James was silent for a moment, his mind racing. Could humanity really accept this offer? To learn from a species so advanced, to join their alliance, could they handle such power? Would they lose their identity, their independence, in the process? "Captain," Carla spoke up, breaking the silence. "This is a chance for humanity to leap forward, to learn what we could never have discovered on our own. We can grow stronger, but we must also be careful." James turned to look at her, then nodded slowly. "I know. I'm not making this decision alone. We'll need to consult with Earth, with our leaders. This is too important to decide in isolation." The crew exchanged looks of agreement. This was not just a military decision, it was a global one. A new era for humanity was on the horizon, and their future was now in the hands of more than just their will to fight. It was about understanding, about sharing knowledge and forging connections. James pressed a button, sending a communication to Earth, requesting an urgent meeting with world leaders. While the elder species remained patient in orbit, the Horizon's crew was left to prepare for what could be the most important decision humanity had ever faced. Hours later, as the message was sent, the crew gathered in the briefing room to discuss what would happen next. On the screen in front of them, world leaders from every corner of Earth appeared, their faces a mix of curiosity, concern, and hope. "Captain James, we've received your report," one of the leaders said, his voice tense. "The elder species, they wish to teach us. They say they respect our strength, but can we trust them? What do we know about their intentions?" James spoke carefully, his voice carrying the weight of the decision. "We know they could have destroyed us, but they chose not to. They tested us, and we've passed. They are offering us their wisdom. This is our chance to evolve, to become something greater. But we must approach this carefully. We can't lose who we are in the process." The room was silent for a moment, and then one of the leaders spoke. "If we accept their offer, we risk changing everything. But we also risk being left behind in the future. We have no choice but to accept, but we must keep our independence. We cannot become slaves to their power." Another leader nodded. "Agreed. Let's proceed with caution. Humanity must retain control over its destiny. As the leaders agreed to move forward, James felt a sense of relief. The decision had been made, and humanity would now take its first steps into the unknown, guided by the elder species. There was no turning back. The future had been opened to them, and now it was up to Earth to decide what kind of future they would create. The elder species had tested humanity, and they had passed. Now, the real journey began. Would humanity rise to the challenge, or would they crumble under the weight of the wisdom they were about to inherit? Only time would tell. The horizon floated in space, suspended between two worlds. On one side, the ancient, graceful ship of the elder species, a vessel unlike anything humanity had ever seen, hovered silently. On the other, Earth's metal battleship, once a symbol of mankind's strength and resilience, now stood as a symbol of potential, a bridge between the past and the future. Captain James felt the weight of what lay ahead. Humanity had made the choice to trust the elder species, and now it was time to learn. The crew aboard the Horizon had prepared for what could be a life-changing meeting. While James had been in communication with Earth's leaders, the elder species had remained silent, waiting for humanity's response. They were offering peace, offering their knowledge. But it was clear they expected something in return. What they wanted, Captain James still didn't fully understand. The ship's captain, with a deep breath, turned to Lieutenant Carla. "Let's begin. Open the communication link to their ship." With a soft click, the ship's communication system activated. The screen flickered for a moment before the image of the elder species leader appeared. The being was calm, its appearance both alien and awe-inspiring. It had no defined features, just shifting shapes that seemed to flow like liquid metal. Yet the eyes, the deep, endless eyes, held centuries of wisdom. "Captain James," the elder species leader said, its voice a soft hum that resonated in their minds. "We have waited for your decision. We seek to understand, just as you do. But first, we must know, are you ready to change?" James hesitated, feeling the gravity of the question. "We are ready to learn. We are ready to grow. But we will not forget who we are." The leader's eyes flickered. "Good. It is your strength that we admire. We did not test you to destroy you, but to see if you would stand. We believe that together, we can achieve more than we could alone." Carla stepped forward, speaking up with her usual confidence. "We're willing to accept your knowledge, but we also want to understand who you are. Why do you offer us this gift? What do you seek in return?" The elder species seemed to pause, as if considering the question carefully. "We have seen many civilizations. Some have flourished, others have fallen. The one thing we have learned is that wisdom is not simply about the knowledge you gain. It is about what you choose to do with that knowledge. We offer it to you because we believe you have the potential to create something new, something that can grow beyond even us." James felt a flicker of hope. The idea of humanity becoming something greater, something more than just survivors, filled him with determination. "Then we will learn, not just from you, but with you. Together, we can build a future where knowledge is shared, not hoarded." The leader nodded. "Then let us begin. We will teach you the ways of the stars, the art of living in harmony with the universe, and the power of creation. But you must also teach us, Captain. You must teach us what it means to have hope when the universe seems uncertain." For the first time in the encounter, James felt a real connection, a sense of true understanding. The elder species, for all their wisdom and power, were not infallible. They, too, had something to learn from humanity's strength. The strength to hope, to fight for a future, to create something new, even in the face of the unknown. The communication ended, and the crew of the Horizon gathered around the command console. They were no longer just a human crew on a ship. They were the first step in a new alliance, a new era. As James looked out at the stars, a new sense of purpose filled him. They had made it this far, and now, with the elder species by their side, humanity's journey was just beginning. There were still many challenges ahead, but for the first time in history, they were not alone. The universe had opened up to them, and they would face it together. The journey of discovery had just begun, and both humanity and the elder species had much to learn. But together, they could become something even greater than they ever dreamed. The alliance between humanity and the elder species had been formed, but it was not without its challenges. The elder species had offered humanity the keys to vast knowledge, the wisdom of ages, and the power to shape the future. But as the initial excitement wore off, a more difficult question began to surface. What would humanity be willing to give up in exchange for this knowledge? Captain James stood on the command deck of the Horizon, looking out into the vast emptiness of space. The ship was still in orbit, and the elder species ship lingered nearby, patiently waiting. The meeting between the two species had gone well, so far, but James could sense the unease in his crew. There was a growing sense that not everyone was on board with the idea of relying on the elder species for guidance. The door to the bridge opened, and Lieutenant Carla entered, her expression serious. "Captain, we need to talk." James turned toward her. "About the elder species?" "Yes," Carla replied, walking over to the console. "There's a growing divide among Earth's leaders. Some believe we should accept the elder species offer without hesitation, that this is the chance to evolve, to become something greater. But there are others who feel we're giving up too much, that we're losing our independence. We could be giving them too much power over our future." James sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I knew this would happen. Humanity has always prided itself on its independence. The idea of relying on another species, especially one so much older and wiser, is hard for many to accept." Carla nodded. "There's a fear that we'll lose what makes us human, the drive to explore, to learn on our own. If we let the elder species lead the way, what will be left of us?" James glanced out the window again, staring at the stars. He understood their concerns. The temptation to learn, to accept the guidance of a race so far ahead in knowledge and technology, was strong. But he also understood the risks. Humanity had fought for every step forward, every discovery. What would they become if they let someone else decide their future? "We can't give up who we are," James said finally, turning to face Carla. "We need the elder species' knowledge, yes, but we can't let them control us. We must remain the masters of our own destiny." Carla smiled, relieved. "I'm glad you said that, Captain. But how do we make sure that happens?" James stood tall, his voice firm. "We make it clear. We accept their wisdom, but we also make it clear that humanity's path is ours to decide. We will work with them, not for them. We need to learn from each other, not be led by them." But even as James spoke with conviction, he knew it wouldn't be easy. The leaders of Earth would have to agree on how to balance the gifts the elder species offered with the need to maintain humanity's autonomy. It would be a difficult conversation, one that would test the strength of this fragile alliance. "We'll have to be careful," James continued. "We must show the elder species that we are not afraid to stand on our own 2 feet. We can learn from them, but we will not become dependent." The crew of the Horizon stood at a crossroads. The offer of peace, knowledge, and cooperation with the elder species was an opportunity of a lifetime. But it came with a price. Humanity's future would be shaped by the choices they made now. Would they embrace the guidance of the elder species, or would they fight to preserve their independence? As the stars sparkled outside the bridge's window, Captain James knew that whatever decision they made, it would determine the course of history. The time had come for humanity to choose, to accept the help of the elder species, or to forge their own path. Either way, the journey ahead would be unlike anything the human race had ever known. The air in the Horizon's briefing room was thick with tension. Captain James sat at the head of the table, his face a mask of concentration. Around him, Earth's leaders were discussing the most important decision humanity had ever faced. The choice between embracing the wisdom of the elder species and preserving Earth's hard-earned independence was not an easy one. The discussions had been long and exhausting, filled with arguments from both sides. "We cannot allow ourselves to be controlled," One of the leaders insisted, his voice sharp. We must retain our autonomy. The elder species may offer us knowledge, but we must keep our freedom. If we accept their help without question, we risk becoming subservient. But we don't have the luxury of time. Another leader shot back. We're facing challenges that we cannot solve on our own. Climate change, war, disease. Our resources are dwindling. The elder species can give us the tools to solve these problems. If we turn them away, we risk condemning ourselves. The room erupted in voices, each one louder than the last, each one representing a different viewpoint. James remained silent, letting the debate unfold. The decision had to be made carefully. This was no longer just about gaining knowledge. It was about defining humanity's future. He knew that whatever choice they made, it would shape the direction of Earth for generations to come. Suddenly, the door to the briefing room opened, and Lieutenant Carla rushed in, her face pale with concern. "Captain, you need to see this," she said urgently, her voice shaky. "There's been a situation on the horizon." James stood up immediately, sensing the gravity of her words. "What's happened?" "We've received a strange transmission from the elder species," Carla said, leading him to the command deck. "It's encrypted, but the message, it's different. It's not what we expected." As James stepped onto the bridge, he could feel the tension in the air. The crew was already at their stations, eyes glued to their consoles. Carla quickly relayed the situation. "We've been unable to decode the full message, but part of it is clear. The elder species is asking for an urgent meeting. They've detected something dangerous." "Dangerous," James repeated, his mind racing. "What are they talking about?" The screen flickered, and the image of the elder species leader appeared. This time, its form was darker, more urgent. "Captain James," the voice spoke, its tone far more serious than before. "We have detected a threat. Something is approaching your planet, a force that we have never encountered before. We cannot stop it alone. You must prepare." The room fell silent. For a moment, no one spoke. The elder species, who had been so calm and confident, now seemed shaken. If they were warning Earth, it meant that this threat was unlike anything humanity had ever faced. James took a deep breath, trying to keep his composure. "What kind of threat? And how long do we have?" The leader's eyes flickered. "We have little time. The force is fast, and its power is unlike anything we have ever seen. We fear that it will destroy your planet if not stopped." The urgency in the leader's voice was unmistakable. The Horizon's crew, who had once questioned whether they could trust the elder species, now felt a shared weight of responsibility. The threat wasn't just something out there. It was a real danger that could erase everything humanity had built. "We'll need to act fast," James said, his voice steady but urgent. "Prepare the crew. We may be facing an enemy like no other, but we're not going down without a fight." The time for debate was over. Earth was facing a crisis, and they would need to rely on their new allies, the elder species, if they were to survive. Together, they would have to confront whatever was coming. But as James looked at the stars beyond the ship's windows, he couldn't shake the feeling that this would be the ultimate test for humanity. Would they rise to the challenge, or would they fall before a force too powerful to stop? The horizon hummed with activity as the crew scrambled to prepare for the threat that was rapidly approaching. Captain James stood at the command console, his mind racing. The transmission from the elder species had left no room for doubt. This was a threat of unimaginable power, something that could wipe out Earth in an instant if they weren't ready. The urgency in the elder's voice had shaken even the most seasoned crew members. "Captain," Carla's voice broke through his thoughts, "the fleet is ready for deployment. We've made the necessary adjustments to the ship's weapons systems, but we still don't fully know what we're facing." James nodded grimly. "We've faced the unknown before. We'll face it again. Prepare the crew for anything. And contact the elder species. We need their guidance. We can't do this alone." As Carla relayed the orders, James felt the weight of leadership pressing down on him. This wasn't just about the survival of Earth anymore. It was about the survival of everything they had learned, everything they had built. Humanity had chosen to embrace the knowledge of the elder species, but now they would be tested. The true strength of their alliance would be proven in the next few hours. On the bridge, the crew worked swiftly, calibrating weapons and defensive shields, scanning for any signs of the approaching threat. Lieutenant Carla stood by the communication panel, constantly checking the status of the elder species ship. "We've got a message," she said, turning to face James. "It's encrypted, but it's from the elder species. They say they have identified the threat." James approached the console, his heart pounding. As the message decoded, the words that appeared on the screen were clear and chilling. "The enemy is not of this universe. It is a force that devours entire worlds. We call it the Devourer. It has come for Earth. If we cannot stop it, everything you know will be destroyed." The crew fell silent. The Devourer. Humanity had never heard of such a thing, but the words alone filled them with fear. This wasn't a battle they could fight alone, and the elder species had made it clear that even their immense knowledge and power might not be enough to stop it. James turned to Carla, determination in his eyes. "We don't have the luxury of fear. We fought for everything we have. We've earned the right to survive. And if we have to fight alongside the elder species, we'll do it." The crew rallied, their faces set with resolve. They were not alone. The elder species, their mysterious and ancient allies, had pledged to help them. But this enemy, the Devourer, would be a battle unlike any they had ever fought. As the horizon prepared for battle, the massive elder species ship moved closer, its organic hull shimmering in the darkness of space. Together, humanity and the elder species would stand side by side, a united force against a common enemy. The stars outside the bridge's windows seemed to stretch on forever, a reminder of the vastness of the universe. But now, for the first time, the humans aboard the horizon realized that they were no longer insignificant in the grand scheme of things. They had learned from the elder species, they had evolved, and they were ready to prove that humanity had more to offer than just survival. The Devourer was coming. The fight for Earth, for the future of all humanity, was about to begin. And whatever happened next, Captain James knew one thing for sure: humanity would not go down without a fight.